EndSARS protests?
Thank you very much. The brief was there is a court order saying protesters are not to go to certain areas, clearly spelled out in the court order and clearly spelled out in the statement we issued on Saturday. And so for anybody trying to go into these areas, they will be stopped with minimal force. They will be arrested if they actually do go into these areas, and they will be investigated and prosecuted. That was spelled out clearly in our statement. That was the brief. And today, some people indeed marched into these areas, and they were arrested. And we also used minimal force commensurate with the resistance we got. And that was the use of tear gas to disperse the crowd. It worked. No injury, and the protesters were dispersed. And this came after several warnings for them to disperse. So the excuse of, oh, there are people with health concerns does not come up, because they were clearly warned that you need to disperse, you are violating a court order, or else we're going to use tear gas. Now, the issue of live bullets, there was absolutely no use of live bullets. It's very common for people to think that the popping sound, the explosion-like sound they hear when tear gas is fired is that of live bullet. But I can tell you on good authority that live bullet was not used today.
And we want to also clarify that there is no court order issued against the protests. Of course, the police, in their anxiety and desperation, went to Federal High Court judge on Friday and asked them to stop us from visiting certain areas. In fact, they initially wanted to ask the judge to stop, but the judge vehemently denied that he cannot ask the Nigerians not to protest, exercise their fundamental human rights. So they granted a limited order. And the judge, in his number 3 order, said they must serve the defendants. They must serve the defendants by Friday. We have not been served. I only got to hear about the order through another person, and the order has lapsed because, as an ex parte order, service is the only thing that can activate an ex parte order. That has not been served. So we are going ahead tomorrow, and we will march peacefully, powerfully, and legally on the streets of Abuja. And anywhere you might be, our own position is that this must be completely peaceful protest. And we hope that at the end of the protest, common sense will prevail and will bring Mr. Nnamdi Kanu home. Thank you very much for coming. If you have any questions, please ask so that we can continue.
How many you went to court ex parte to get the court order, but you never made it available to Nigerians.
They were arrested not for carrying out their lawful duties, but for contravening a valid court order.
A court order that was not made available to the public.
The court order is there, and in our statement on Saturday, we mentioned the court, we mentioned the judge, we mentioned the court order number. We mentioned everything. We were so plain, we made it clear, and we also warned that anybody that contravened that court order would be arrested. We made it clear.
So, is the police aware of a possible optics of what happened today? Whether or not the police is on the side of the people or on the side against the people? Is police aware and managing these optics?
Well, I don't think it's as bad as you make it look.
Is it me that make it look?
No, as you're painting. I don't think it's as bad as you are painting. A couple of, in fact, do you know, this happened in Abuja, and one man carried a placard in Lagos, and a few people in Abia State, and that's all, no other states. So these people came out, and we tried our best. We managed the situation. I think we deserve commendation for this.
In fact, we understand that the IG actually rushed back to Nigeria from an event he was attending in the US.
Because of this? No, far from it.
Where did he?
Far from it.
But abruptly, he was supposed to be at that conference.
Far from it. The IG was in Denver, Colorado for the opening ceremony, for the IACP. He attended the opening ceremony, and he had to come back for other pressing security matters. See, I'll tell you this. The IG has carefully selected sound officers, operationally sound officers, to man strategic positions within the force, such that even if he's not in the country, if he's not around, the police will do what it's supposed to do to a very large extent. The IG does not micromanage people. And do not forget that his PhD thesis is in protests management. So he's an expert in this. There are standard operating procedures he has handed down to all his commissioners of police. So even if he's not in the country, things we move as they should. But he's back in the country, not for this, but for other pressing security concerns. But it's good that he's on ground so that he can see things for himself.
Would it be about the coup? Did he rush now also because of the coup?
Now, the defense headquarters has debunked that there was a coup, but that's ordinarily should be enough to make an IG come back to the country, to ensure that there is no anarchy, there is no breakdown of law and order, and there is absolute peace.
Okay, great. So these areas that were outlawed or banned, the 3 armed zones, the courts, and
Eagle Square, National Assembly, Force Headquarters, Shehu Shagari Way.
But the protesters, some were arrested and tear gas were used at Transcorp.
Transcorp, yeah.
So the argument is Transcorp was not on that list. How come you dispersed peaceful protests there?
Transcorp,
how do you respond to that?
Transcorp is just like a feeder route into Shehu Shagari Way. So,
but it is not Shehu Shagari Way.
Like I said, they were moving into restricted area. In fact, some of them did move into restricted area. So for other protesters that did not contravene the court order, yes, there was no confrontation. But for these ones, that was the main reason they were actually arrested.
Can you confirm, you've just told us that there were arrests made, like we've heard. Can you confirm to us the numbers of people that were arrested and what next?
So initially in the morning, we had 8 people, including Nnamdi Kanu's brother, Emmanuel Kanu, and Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, Dr. Barrister Aloy, and 6 others, making 8. But much later, 5 people were added to it, 5 other people were arrested, making a total of 13. So we have 13 people in our custody. Statements have been taken, investigation is being wrapped up as I speak, and first thing tomorrow morning they are going to be prosecuted. We can assure you that they won't spend up to 24 hours in our custody.
And these arrests were done where? In one sport or different sports? If you can highlight that for us.
Yes.
Because we also told journalists were among those you arrested today, including international journalists.
This morning, one international journalist was brought to the state, the FCT command headquarters in Abuja because the arresting officers mistook him for a protester, but he identified himself immediately and he was released. I can confirm that he was released immediately. He identified himself. So I'm answering your question. Yes, some people were arrested around Transcorp after they made their way into Shehu Shagari, while others were arrested around Ministry of Finance, also within the restricted area.
All right, so if you are listening to this interview very carefully, you will understand there is a contradiction between the police and then the organizers of this protest. You could listen that Sowore, on the eve of the protest has already, clarified and let the people know that the court order was not given to them, and since they were not served, it becomes null and void. And then the police, on the other hand, are now claiming that they have made every information necessary available to the public, and not just to the public, even to the organizers of this program, that these places are restricted. Anyway, if you also watch carefully, you could still understand that some arrests and some people were tear gas, not around the restricted area that was mentioned. I could recall some of the videos that was on the public space yesterday during the protest. Some were arrested at Otako, while some other persons also where we could see some peaceful protesters that gathered and they are having their protest at Otako.